Hello, garden hunter friends. That's how my garden looks right now in the springtime. I left all of the plant leftovers in place last fall on purpose. I also dumped all of the leaves, straw, all possible organic material that I was able to collect over the fall and winter months to keep the garden beds covered. I believe this is a good practice, and in this video I'm going to disclose 6 benefits of leaving the plant's leftovers in place. Otherwise they are called residues. First significant benefit of leaving the plant residues in a garden is that they protect the soil from erosion and from losing all of the beneficial nutrients that were collected in the top 8 inches of the soil. Those 8 inches that you work hard to enhance over the course of your previous gardening efforts, those 8 inches of most precious soil that were scratched by developers when your house was built. I speak about the modern development practices when they remove all of the topsoils before building the contemporary houses. Those 8 inches of soil we have to preserve as much as possible and deepen the layer of the nutritious soil over the 8 inches. 8 inches is minimum that your plants require. But when you move to the new residence where the garden is occupied by the existing lawn, as soon as you dig under the sod, under this, how many, 4 inches of sod, even less, you will discover the plain layers of clay or loam or sand, but that soil is not sufficient enough to, to grow the food. That's why I underline this significant benefit that the plant residues protect the top layer of soil from erosion and from losing the beneficial nutrients. I have created a short video where I explain how erosion works on your soil. When rains hit the ground, they make top layer of the soil compacted. That's why we see these crusts formed. Eventually, thanks to the sun and wind, you will see these cracks on the surface, right? Because the sun warms up the soil and it makes these crusts crack out, okay? When the next rains come up, the water will have more chances to leak through these cracks. This way, the water will leak out all of these nutritious elements and materials that are collected on the upper layers of the soil. Those beneficial elements that you worked hard to keep in the soil. Also, the winds blow out the dust from the soil and eventually will blow out the beneficial elements from the cracks too, but mostly they are leaked out by the rains. So it's kind of combination of 3 factors: rain, sun, and wind
that make this process as erosion work out. That's why it's very important to keep your soil covered with mulch or with plants or with cover crops. So you have an option to overplant the garden beds, really spread out, lay out the plants so that they cover the all of the area with the roots and foliage too, and protect from rains to make the soil crusted. Or you can spread out the mulch between the plants, and especially when the bigger pieces of soil stay exposed, make sure to cover those especially.
The second benefit of keeping the plant leftovers in place is that the plant residues, they cover the soil and protect the soil during the non-growing period. They catch rainfall, reducing impact that each rain droplet has on the surface. And they also slow down the snow melting process so that the water has been released gradually into the um, top layers of the soil, not all immediately. Both of these actions help protect the soil structure and keep it intact for the next gardening periods. I simulate how the rain falls onto the surface of the plain ground versus the ground covered with the plant leftovers.
I take the water can and this piece of wood to simulate how the rain drops impact the surface. When I say this is rain, so when it hits the ground, as you can see, drops bounce back and pretty much compacts the soil surface. Okay, I don't know if that's a correct representation. If we compare with bringing the rain to the covered soil, the water pretty much disappears in between all of these residues. As a result, the underneath soil structure is not damaged. You have to keep the ecosystem of the soil the same as is so that the bacteria, insects, worms continue working on your soil as soon as soil starts to warm out in the springtime.
Okay, folks, the third benefit of leaving the plant leftovers in place is that they prevent the soil crusting. I have shown you previously how the soil crusting looks like, but I'm going to repeat here again. What is the soil crusting? You might have seen that during the heavy rainfall, the soil stops absorbing any water. The rain droplets compact soil so much that there will be little stream flowing on the surface of the water. First little ones, and then the little ones will form the larger streams. Plant residues do not allow these streams to be created. They form imperfect sponge that collects the water and then gradually releases the water to the deeper layers of the soil. And that is exactly what your soil and plants need. The plants like when the water slowly released into the roots and does not carry out nutritious elements. I will repeat this benefit that plant residues prevent the soil crusting. They will collect the water and then slowly release the water, like in irrigation system, natural irrigation system that helps the plants to grow and soil to keep the organic materials and fertilize the soil gradually too.
You can see the soil crust pretty much on any open farming field that is exposed to the sun and rain without plants available. And as a matter of fact, here is the example of the larger streams that have been created on the soil from the smaller streams. Exactly what I have talked to you about. That's what happens. That's how the beneficial nutrients have been flown out from the soil away. Of course, this is an extreme example because I'm standing on a hill here, but on a microscopic level, that's exactly what happens with the soil. Doesn't matter what size of field is that. The farming field like this or your small home garden. The fourth substantial benefit of leaving the plant residues in place is that they cover and shade the soil from the weeds. As you might already noticed, first plants that germinate in your garden beds are the weeds. They are the fastest one to grow up, and residues suppress the growth of both weeds. The ones are coming from the soil, that are perennial ones, that are established in the previous season, and the seeds that are brought by the wind, new ones. So they will be dropped and supposedly occupy your garden. Both of those weeds need the same necessary materials to grow: the soil and sun. They don't have a direct access to sun because of your residue. They will pop up eventually, some of them, the strongest one, like mullein behind my back over there. I don't know if you can see. And also they don't allow the newly dropped seeds to grow the roots, because when seeds get dropped on the surface of the plant residues, leaves and straw, they don't have contact with the soil. Yes, they are warmed by the sun, but they are missing the soil, so they don't grow again. So it's a double benefit. The number 5 benefit of leaving the plant residues in place is that they provide the shade, regulating the soil temperature. They keep the soil cooler during the first growing period. The presence of residues helps soil to stay cooler during the non-growing season up to the early period of the new growing season. Cooler soil provides good environment for the beneficial microbes. The microbes like to live in a moist and shady place, and that's exactly what residues provide. The cooler soil also helps to retain the moisture, which is beneficial for successful germination of your vegetable seeds, and also very substantial for your plant growth. Your edible plants and seedlings love to live and prosper in the moist, even temperature and microbe-rich environment, and that's exactly what your residues provide. And lastly, as a 6th benefit, plant residues provide good source of organic material for the soil health. Organic material becomes a good source for the bacteria growth. The growth of bacteria speeds up the composition of the organic materials that you bring in the soil, and as a result, the soil infiltration improves. The soil becomes protected from erosion. That's pretty much what I wanted to tell you about the benefits of leaving the plant residues in the soil. Right now, when spring is coming out, what I'm going to clean is pretty much all of the old plants that stick up from the soil, and even then it will be considerable of what plant to cut and what plant to pull out, because the roots of the old plants will serve as the channels for the water to infiltrate into the soil. I will post the samples of the roots of various vegetables to show how complex is the system of roots, and in all of this system, each and every root tip serves as a channel for the water to penetrate into the soil. So why would I break the structure that is created by the nature instead of leaving the structure in place and help the water to infiltrate into the soil? But I might be switching to a next chapter, which is pretty much the garden cleaning, and if you are interested about that, please let me know. Otherwise, I invite you to subscribe to my Garden How To channel, and I always welcome your comments below. Thank you for watching from Garden How To, and as always, grow your food with Garden How To.